We're looking at a constructed wetland treatment system that's just been developed for the Barratta Creek Catchment. Barratta Creek has experienced some water quality exceedances, so we thought it would be a really important site to actually trial a constructed wetland treatment system.
So we're looking at ways to move back up through the catchment and intercept the nutrients and sediment that are finding their way to the reef. This was a borrow pit before, so we saw it as an opportunity to repurpose something that was already here without impinging on productive land. The difference is now we are slowing that water down and intercepting it. Before, the water probably came in and out in maybe in an hour or two. We're wanting to hold it back for about 24 to 36 hours. The inlet to the wetland is normally a standing water area where the water is slowed down and the sediments are settled out. Captures in a location that is easily accessible and can be cleaned out. Put in these diversion bunds to create a convoluted flow path so that the water is then pushed up through all the reeds and around the end and then back down in a much more controlled way. And similarly, on the inlet on the opposite end, there's another bund that pushes water in and around. And we deliberately did that to make more use of the wetland area. This plant that was already in the wetland is Typha, and it was already here, and we really thought it does a terrific job for water quality, so there's no need to go to the expense and effort of removing it all. We're planting a few local sedges, and they'll grow around the edges and find their place in the wetland. So the vegetation is really what drives all the water quality processes, particularly for nitrates, which is a common nutrient in fertiliser runoff. We need the carbon and the vegetation to strip out those nitrates and turn it into nitrogen gas. You can't do that without carbon, and carbon is in the plant litter. There's a little bit of nutrient uptake in the plants themselves, but we're more interested in that dense litter layer on the floor where most of the processes are going to occur. So we're really most interested in those lower flows where there's very high concentrations of nutrients. And the high flows will go straight over the top of the wall, and we've deliberately set the top of the wall to be lower than the inlet levels of the wetland so that there's no backing up of water back up into the farmland. It's trying to build something that's low cost and passive and easy and low maintenance, more of a set and forget. There's very little to do.
So far we've collected approximately 1 year of water quality results from this wetland. We have auto samplers at each of the 2 inlets and also the outlet. We collect water samples and we take them back to our office for an in-house analysis, as well as send them off to laboratories for more detailed analysis of both nutrients, sediments and also pesticides. The results we've found so far from the monitoring indicate that the wetland is having a good impact on the reduction of certain nutrients and suspended sediments.
The blue and the orange are the flows in, and you can see these very large spikes of sediment. You're seeing concentrations up above 200 and even above 300 milligrams per litre being reduced down to less than 50. So really significant reductions in those storm events.
We're just reviewing the results for the dissolved inorganic nitrogen. So we've got inlet 1 is blue and inlet 2 is orange, and then the outlet is in grey. Generally, at least one, if not both of the inlets is always a lot higher concentration of nitrogen. And then the outlet, after it had undergone treatment through the wetland system, you can see that the outlet brings that level down much lower. We had a very large rainfall event, and this entire area was overtopped by water. There was no damage done to the infrastructure here. The design held up very, very well. One of the neighbouring cane farmers has now installed a pump into this wetland. From our perspective, that is a very good thing because he's gaining a direct benefit from the wetland, but also that is helping to reduce the actual amount of water that leaves the wetland into the downstream environment. And from his perspective, he's saving water on his farm by being able to reuse the water straight out of the wetland rather than having to purchase more water from his allocation.
I'm pleased that the system's working well. We're working to try to use this site at Barratta Creek as a demonstration site of the way that constructed wetlands can be used to intercept nutrients and sediment and improve water quality. Hopefully people can look at it and say, okay, I could see how that could work on my farm in a way that's not a massive burden or a massive cost, but also in terms of creating an asset on that farm. It's a source of biodiversity, it could be a source of water, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of other things that are happening on the farm.